Hello, welcome to our Non-Farm Payrolls live event. I'm David Jones from Capital.com, and so today what we're going to do is the usual. If someone can just confirm that the sound is okay, just as we're starting here. I've had a couple of issues today. I moved house this week, and of course, as ever, when plugging everything in, it hasn't quite worked as I expected to. So I think I've got a slight problem with the resolution, but hopefully it doesn't detract from it too much. I'll try and talk through all of the stuff we see. I'm not quite sure why YouTube is doing it at such a low resolution for this, but I'll talk about the things we can see, and hopefully the charts and everything will be easy enough. So it's important to understand this presentation is only for educational purposes. It does not contain and should not be construed as containing investment advice or an investment recommendation or an offer of or solicitation for a transaction in any financial instrument. David Jones and Capital.com accept no responsibility for any use that may be made of these comments and for any consequences that result. Spread bets and CFDs are complex instruments and come with a high risk of losing money rapidly due to leverage. 75% of retail investor accounts lose money when spread betting and or trading CFDs with this provider. You should consider whether you understand how spread bets and CFDs work and whether you can afford to take the high risks of losing your money. Okay, I've got one eye on the questions as well, so any questions, pop them in. But the structure for today is going to be slightly different. I'll leave that advert up for a second and talk about it. We are going to look at the payrolls, we'll look at markets ahead of the payrolls, but also last week we did a market recap session, what's been going on for the week so far, and a look ahead to the week after. So I'll do that after 1:30, so after 13 minutes when the payrolls come out. So the first 10 minutes or so we'll focus on the payrolls, then after that we'll do a more leisurely look through the markets, because a lot has been happening. So yeah, let's see. But before we get into all of that, a quick advert from us. We've launched spread betting, so if you're in the UK or Ireland, you're probably familiar with what spread betting is. But with spread betting, you get tax-free profits. Basically, if you're not from the UK or Ireland, you can still trade CFDs and foreign exchange with us. So to find out more, go to our website, Capital.com. And of course, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We put out loads of video, well, not loads, 3 or 4 videos during the week on various markets. I think the last one we did was Bitcoin this week. I think we did gold as well, and the S&P as well this week. So we put regular pre-recorded market commentary on the website. I'm looking at the resolution on another screen. It looks like a mobile phone from 1996, doesn't it? I'm really not sure what's gone wrong. But like I say, I've moved house this week and I'm using a different PC. So I think I've messed the settings up. It will return to normal next time round, but hopefully we'll get through this. Right, let's talk about non-farm payrolls. So today, non-farm payrolls come out in about 12 minutes. It's a major monthly economic release, usually announced the first Friday of the month, which of course is where we are today. US unemployment data, it's often used as a barometer for the health of the US economy. So how well or how badly is the US economy doing? Today's expectations, it's all about the expectations really. How does the number come in compared to what the market was expecting? So today's expectations is for around 480,000 jobs to have been added to the economy in November. So that's the number to keep in mind, 480. So it's how near or how far we end up from that. Is everything still okay your end? Something seems to have gone a bit strange at my end. Oh, what has happened? Can everybody still hear me? Because at my end it seems as if the stream has just stopped. Let me try that again. How weird. It's working for everyone else, but it's not been working for me. Okay, I think we're back on, aren't we? Okay, so let's look at the historical data for the payrolls. So historical data, here we go. You can see it here. So the last payrolls we had last time round, 638,000. Before that, we had 661,000 added. And you can see, of course, the massive drop in April at the start of the it's like I've got no idea what's going on because everything at my end thinks it's died, where everyone thinks they can still hear it. We had that massive drop in April, of course, when we saw a loss of 21 million jobs. So the number we're expecting today, just to recap, 480,000 is the number today. So some possible market reaction scenarios. If the number's below expectations, then stock markets might go up on the expectation of perhaps more Fed support. If it's below expectations, the dollar could go down. Below expectations, oil could go down, although it is holding steady at the moment, oil, waiting, I think, for the next OPEC announcement. If the number comes in above expectations, we could see no change for stock markets with the trend still strong. And the dollar, watch for base building. And I think the dollar's the really interesting story. We'll have a look at this when we have a look at these markets in a bit more depth, because the dollar has slipped to a 2.5-year low today. Let me see if I can get this back, because it's a bit distracting where I can't see a thing that's going on. I'm sorry about this. Okay, I can't get it back. So now let's jump to the trading platform. Let's take a look at the markets. I think there's a lot we can talk about that's gone on this week, but I thought I'll start off first of all with the US dollar index. So this is the dollar over the last, if we go right back on this dollar, if you can just confirm that you can see the US dollar index on the chart there, because I am flying a little bit blind here, but we've got the US dollar index going back the last couple of years, and you can see what's happened over the last few weeks. It's really accelerated down, so we're now down to levels on the US dollar not seen since April 2018. So we've hit a 2.5-year low. And I've watched this and picked up on this a couple of times recently, the dollar, because I did wonder, was it starting to make a base down at these levels, the dollar? And clearly this week we've gone sailing back through it, which does make things a lot more interesting, because we are seeing, if we look at Euro US dollar, we'll look at these in a bit more depth once the payrolls have come out. Look at the euro. I do have a couple of trades. I think we've got a couple of trades in this account, actually. This is the account I use for the videos. And finally, we've had one trade in here since the 27th of May on the euro, another one from the 28th of July. And clearly, with the moves this week, the euro this week has gone to its best levels since, if we go all the way back, look at that, euro US dollar back to where it was on the 25th of April 2018. So it's a major breakout this week, breakdown by the US dollar, break up by the euro. So for me, I've got these trades on at the moment, like I say, we put on ages ago, but I would definitely be looking to add to the euro on dips. I mean, clearly nothing today is financial advice, but I think it is interesting that we have broken out of this sideways range that it'd been in for the last 3 months. From the beginning of September was the last time we saw a multi-year high for the euro, but bang, 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 and away we go again on the euro. So that's a really interesting one. Also, the pound is trying to break, just even as we speak. Really, it'd be interesting to see what the reaction is to the payrolls, and we'll look at this in a lot more depth. But it is breaking through the last couple of days. The highs from September, 134.80. Yesterday traded to 134.99. So pound trying to break out as well. So I think this does make for a really interesting end to the year for euro US dollar and pound US dollar, with that dollar moving to new lows. But like I say, we'll look at it in a bit more detail when the numbers come out. We've got about 5 minutes till this number comes out. Of course, we've got to talk about Bitcoin this week. We did our Bitcoin video yesterday. Absolute nuts couple of months for Bitcoin, clearly. If we go back to September the 23rd, it was trading about $10,000-ish. And since then, we've pushed up to levels really not seen. well, all-time highs, isn't it? We've seen fresh all-time highs this week for Bitcoin, pushed up to up and beyond briefly where it was December 2017, finally taking out those highs. I'm really sorry about the dropping out today. I really don't know what's going on because my internet looks pretty quick, but I seem to be having an issue this end as well. But we'll look at Bitcoin in a bit more detail. I did do the video yesterday on Bitcoin, and I do have an existing trade running from the live stream we did last week. And my order is in now at 20,250. So I think if Bitcoin breaks 20,000, we could see another move higher. No, it's not a beer, it's a can of Coke. So beer is not the reason for my technical problems today. So I think if we see Bitcoin break 20,000, we could see it move a lot higher from here. But I did wonder, I said in the video yesterday, because we're back up to levels where it was 3 years ago, and there might have been plenty of people who bought in the last few weeks of 2017 and have been sitting on massive losses since then. I think we could see quite a lot of people offloading up here Bitcoin. So that's why I think if it breaks 20,000, it gets a lot more interesting. But I don't want to do anything up until it does break through that level. We've got about 4 minutes left until these numbers come out. So again, the level to watch, 480 is what we're expecting. I thought let's just talk about the important events for next week. Clearly we know that payrolls is the big one today. 7th of December, Monday, we've got China trade balance. So that could be quite an interesting one to see the state of the Chinese economy, seeing how things are getting on over there. We've also got Japanese GDP on Monday. So again, the state of the Japan economy. Maybe we'll have a look at the Nikkei, because the Nikkei's had a pretty major breakout. So remind me, after the payrolls come out, we'll take a look at the Nikkei. So it's a big week for GDP next week. On Tuesday, we've got EU GDP as well. And then on Thursday, UK GDP. So I think it's going to be really interesting, the state of these major world economies, clearly after what we've been through this year. And then on Thursday, we have the EU interest rate decision as well. So I think there's plenty to watch going into next week. But clearly for today's markets, it's all about the payrolls. Let's take a look at a really short-term market, perhaps. Let's take a look at the Dow. So the Dow is always a good one to track when it comes to the payrolls. My tip for trading the payrolls is not to trade them, is to wait until the number is out of the way, because the markets can often have what I refer to as a bit of a sort of a headless chicken moment when the payrolls come out. They think, oh, this looks really good. Oh, actually, no, it's really bad, and ends up trading back to where it was before the number came out. So I've got something open on my other screen, keeping an eye on the number coming out. So this is where we are on the Dow. So this is a 1 minute chart. So it's a really short-term chart. Where was yesterday? So yesterday was over here. So we did see this fairly big sell-off. You can see, well, actually a pretty major sell-off into the close for the Dow. We've recovered, trading back up to where it was half an hour before the close yesterday. So the Dow at the moment is sitting at 30,060, about that sort of level, just before the number comes out. And we've got just another minute until that number comes out. So we'll see how the Dow reacts to that. But like I say, my advice is not to try and trade over the payrolls, because it's just nuts, and you can see the market run one way very quickly for a couple of minutes and then just reverse the other way. It's really weird doing this and not actually knowing if it's working, but the comments do suggest that it is working. Let's take a look at the price of oil as well. Oil hasn't been moving much on payrolls recently, but let's bring it up and take a look at it. Here we go. There's a minute chart on oil. So we're trading about $46 a barrel, the price of oil at the moment. We've got 20 seconds until this number comes out. Let's flip it back. So 480-ish is what we're expecting. Let's see how it actually comes in. Here we go. So the Dow is at about 30,070. I'm going to keep an eye. I've got a Twitter feed here set up to keep an eye. Okay, there, bang! Whoa! Well, it looks like whatever the number was, it was a surprise. So okay, so the market's dumped. Oh, that's the biggest move we've seen for a while. 245. that's quite a big miss. So the market was expecting about 480,000 jobs to be added, and it came in at 245,000 jobs. So that's quite a big miss, really. But let's see where this settles down, because I could be tempted to still be a buyer actually. But that's the biggest reaction I think we've seen for a few months for the payrolls. So we'll flip through the other markets quickly, see what they thought of it. So you can see the market was trading at 30,070, and it dumped down pretty quickly, 30,006. So lost about 65 points on the number on that. Let's have a quick look at a quick flick at the other markets, then we'll look at things in more detail. Okay, so crude oil. So it was at 46, wasn't it, crude? Oh, that's hardly moved at all. It's still trading at 46. Let's take a look now. What do we, do we expect dollar weakness on that? Dollar strength? Let's have a look at pound against the dollar. Let's see what it made of that. Let's bring that chart up. Okay, so not surprising, I suppose, to see a bit of dollar weakness on that. So here's pound against the dollar. So just before the number came out, the pound was trading at 134.65. It's gained about 15 points or so on that move. Okay, so a bit of volatility, and it's quite a miss, that is, against what we were expecting. So we'll come back to these markets in a few minutes. We'll let things settle down. But let's go back to our look at other markets. Okay, so what we're going to look at in this little bit, we're going to look at stock markets, gold and silver, Bitcoin, crude oil, foreign exchange. Okay, so let's kick things off with stock markets. So first of all, S&P. So let's bring that one up. I think clearly these US stock markets, I think they're still strong. We are trading pretty much at all-time highs. Here's a daily chart of the S&P. Okay, its volatility has dropped right off. If we put some Bollinger Bands on these things, hang on a second. Let's bring these in to so the Bollinger Bands. There we go. So the Bollinger Bands. So when the Bollinger Bands are wide, we are seeing an increase in volatility. You can see how tight these bands are at the moment, can't you? Just stuck. Very different to how it was back then. So we've seen a real drop in volatility for stock markets, even though we're at all-time highs. So still bullish, but I would be maybe a little bit concerned that we're overdue a sell-off up here. But if we had a major sell-off in stock markets, and by major I mean back to these late October lows, I still think it's a buying opportunity. Yeah, so that would be a 7, 8, 9% drop from where we are now. But it still looks to me, I think, like a buying opportunity from those sort of levels. So I think stock markets still positive, but perhaps a little bit overstretched up here. Let's see what the S&P move has been. Wow, that is quite the spike. And right, but look at that. This perfectly bears out my approach of not trading the payrolls and waiting for things to settle down. So before they came out, the S&P was 36.77, dropped to 36.70, and it's now actually above and climbing where it was when the number came out. So like I say, headless chicken response really to the payrolls. Okay, so we'll come back to that maybe and see how things are moving, because clearly things still are. So that's all still positive, at or near all-time highs, but a little bit boring. Gold and silver. So gold trades to a 5-month low over the last week. Silver is weak but holding above support. I think we did a silver video this week, didn't we? And a weaker US dollar has helped both rally in recent days. Let's take a look at silver. So let's bring up the daily chart on silver. I thought what was interesting in silver, I did it on the video this week. The video went out on this day here, and somebody said, "Oh, you should have bought it yesterday." And it's like, "We're great, yeah, thanks for that." But what was interesting on silver, it sold off from November, but it's held. But it's a big level for silver. Those September lows coming in around 21.50, is it 21.65? What's interesting, silver held down here. Then we had a big move on Tuesday of this week, wasn't it? And I still think it's not quite out of the woods yet, silver, I think, and this is the big level to watch, sort of 21.50, 21.65, and it's held so far. So I think I said my target was $25 in the video, which is only back up to here, this sort of area. So I think it's still positive, but it's just been fairly boring the last few months. But 2150 I think is the really big level. If we take a look at gold has been weaker than silver. Now if we look on, I had an order in there, just missed it at 1750. Gold, drifted down, was it earlier this week, to around 1760 was the low on gold, back to where it was these sort of areas July 2020. I still think this longer term trend for gold that we always look at is still valid, and clearly we pushed out to all-time highs at 2075 in the summer, and it's tailed off since then. I think we might have to be a bit patient before we see gold back above $2,000 anytime soon. I think maybe we'll just see a bit more chop here, but I think again the reason I've got an order sitting at 1750 for gold, which just missed being filled, is I think these old lows around 1650 we're going to stop any major weakness. It's just gone a bit boring, I think, gold. So let's see what happens. Let's look at some other markets. Bitcoin, fresh all-time highs. There was some leaked Citibank analysis this week calling it 21st century gold. It's worth a read, this, because I think also the person who not the person who leaked it, I think the analyst quoted is talking about $300,000 target for Bitcoin, which is a bit punchy, isn't it? But I'm not saying it can't happen, but we've had this great recovery on Bitcoin off the lows in March, $4,000 to pretty much $20,000 earlier this week. So I thought it'd be interesting to see what happens if it breaks 20. And I do think $20,000 could end up being a problem, because there might be a whole bunch of trapped from the old days. I remember doing videos back here in late 2017 when it was absolutely nuts, Bitcoin, and every man and his dog wanted to be a buyer. My mum, who is a 70-year-old hairdresser in North Wales and who never buys any shares, was asking me, should I buy this thing called Bitcoin in December 2017. Not that 70-year-old hairdressers shouldn't be speculating in financial markets, but it shows how much it had permeated everywhere. And I don't think we're maybe at the same sort of mania levels now, but I do think perhaps there's a lot of people who bought back here who are only too happy to offload up here. So anyway, the trade I've got an order sitting at 20,250. So if it does break 20,250, I'd buy, and I think 25,000 is the next target. But maybe it starts to struggle a bit up here, but an absolute cracking performance, and I'd still be a buyer on dips. So I still think the trend is up, but perhaps it's a bit overstretched in the short term. We'll find out soon enough. Crude oil. I have been wrong-footed by crude oil twice, I think, the last few weeks. So the market has been pretty flat over the last week, but it's holding at 7-month highs. It's awaiting an update, and I haven't had a chance to check if that's happened yet, apologies, from OPEC on 2021 production plans. Are there still going to be cuts? What are the level of production is going to be? Let's take a look at crude oil. So, it's breaking higher again today. There we go. It's really caught me on the hop over the last month, and if you watch the videos, you'll have seen that. Because we started in November, crude oil, trades down to $34, below $34. So the lowest it had been since May. Okay, that was the beginning of November, down at 34, and then ends November having hit 46. So what's that? A $12 move. So 30% plus swing in crude oil during November. Completely wrong-footed me. I think I went short here somewhere and got stopped out on the move back up. And at the moment, it does look strong, doesn't it? Again, just today in crude oil, it's pushed back to its best levels since March of this year. Incredibly strong crude oil. So again, from a trend following point of view, I'd have to be a buyer, but I think I've had my fingers burnt a bit too much, and I'm quite happy to sit it out for a bit on crude. But our trend off those November lows looks something like that. So for me, if I was a buyer up here at 46.18, stop, the closest I would want my stop is the other side of $44, these lows, and it's only from the 2nd of December, so not so long ago. Okay, but I've been wrong-footed by crude, and I'm sort of sitting it out at the moment because I seem to be just completely doing the completely wrong thing. But what is a lot more interesting for me, we will look at natural gas actually. So we're going to look at FX now. Actually, let's look at natural gas quickly, then we'll look at FX. I've seen a few requests for natural gas come in. I've got a trade on that. I think I'm on the wrong side on that as well at the moment, on the natural gas trade. Or maybe it's even been stopped out. These are the trades I've got at the moment running on the account. The big winners are in FX. But let's, yeah, I think it's not there. Let's bring up the natural gas trade, natural gas market. Let's have a look on the dailies and natural gas. Oh, see, I think the trade I did on the account that's gone now, that's been stopped out, was a buyer. I think it was a buyer about here into this trend. Natural gas is an absolute lunatic market once it starts moving. Great opportunities, but of course, great opportunities to lose money as well. It had punched out to its best levels, up at 3.4, best levels since, got to go all the way back to here, 2019. And look at the reversal since then. It's gone, it's fallen back by what, more than $1. So we've seen pretty much a 30% move in natural gas since those early November highs. I would still be tempted to be a buyer, but I wouldn't be a buyer yet. I'd be tempted to just stand aside for a bit because I think it is interesting down here, natural gas. We're back to levels on the way up from the mid-August lows around about 240, and again here in September. And I think it's going to be an interesting market to watch next week to see if we see some strength come in on natural gas, because it is a market, once it starts moving, it really does move, and it's just being the right side of that move. So I think for me next week, natural gas 240 is a level to watch. But I'm having much more success at the moment when it comes to foreign exchange. So we've had the US dollar, it's a 2.5-year low, positive week for the pound, pushing back to 2020 highs, and euro dollar also gains. So someone was saying that the euro's really moving. Let's take a look at the euro. So let's bring that up. There we go. So let's see what it's done. What's it done since the payrolls? Let's have a quick. Oh, look at that! Absolutely all over the place. So there was the move. That was just before the payrolls came out. Ran up and ran all the way back down again. So again, I think leave things calm down. But for me, I mean, I'm long the euro on this account anyway. We've done a few trades from a long time ago. So it's up. And these have turned out to be really good trades, because even though I've taken losses on natural gas and losses on oil, you know, our risk on that trade that's up 1,700 quid, if we did it on the 27th of May, our risk was about 200 quid, I think, on that trade. So that's made a massive multiple of art. But I think euro and the pound are really interesting markets going into the end of this year, beginning of next, because we have been banging around in this range since the summer, and we've broken out. So for me, if we got a deeper or a sell-off next week on the euro, I would personally be looking to be a buyer, because we've broken out to these levels and there seems to be strength there. If we flip this over to an hourly chart, I think we will do a video next week on foreign exchange. I think we were going to do one this week, but with Bitcoin breaking to fresh all-time highs, we thought we'd do a Bitcoin video instead. So I think next week, if we did see the euro, it's interesting actually, it's the old highs from the summer around 120, and also the trend line from the last week or so around 120. So I think if we saw the euro drop 100 points next week, it'd be interesting to see if we get any weakness back to here and it breaks up. So I think that the rest of this year and into next, perhaps euro strength is one market to watch. Let's take a look at and see. Someone's asked for the FTSE. We'll have a look at that. If you've got any markets you want to have a look at, I'm happy to scroll back through the questions and we'll have a look at them once I've finished going through all of these. And the same for pound against the dollar. So pound against the dollar breaking out over the last couple of days to new highs for the year. But we do have, look back here, December 2019 highs at 135.13. That's the big level, and it's so far it hasn't taken that out. So I think we're in for a really interesting couple of weeks in these markets. Right, what I'll do now, I'll do a quick advert, then we'll go back and look at some of the markets requested. Zero spread on euro dollar today. So if you're a client and you're watching this, you can trade the euro today with no spread. So no bid offer spread. If you're not a client, if you open an account today or download the app and open an account, you get no spread on the euro, which is moving around as we saw till 6 p.m. So you get more than 4 hours of no spread. And I think one of the benefits of trading with us, you can trade really small. So if you want to take tiny trade size and tiny levels of risk, you can. You don't have to trade full size futures lots on these markets. So try it out. Go to Capital.com. You get free no spread on the euro today, and see. Right, let's have a look. Let's have a look at some of these markets coming through that people want to have a look at. Any other look? FTSE 100. The FTSE's a strange one, isn't it? The UK market, the FTSE 100 index, and you'd much rather have had your money in the S&P than the FTSE recently. And I wonder if the pound strength, is that going to affect the FTSE, because so many of the FTSE 100 companies report their profits or losses in dollars or another currency rather than the pound. But anyway, this is where we are. It's having a good day today. So the FTSE today is up at 65.33, best levels since March. So still a long way off the previous highs. But again, it's another market breaking out. There's a lot of interesting things going on today. I think with the euro and the pound breaking out, FTSE breaking out. It'll be an interesting market to watch next week. If we flip this over to an hourly, for me, I think the trade on the FTSE, I perhaps wouldn't be a buyer to today, but to watch it going into next week. And we've got a good little trend running on the FTSE for all of the past week or so. Lots of support coming in from these lows, 64.30 through to, I suppose, 64.80, that sort of area. And it is interesting because it's breaking out, because it's only the first couple of days. Let's just maximize that. It's the first couple of days of a breakout. Let's see what's happened, but that's a really interesting one. And of course, we do have the effect. It's referred to as the Santa rally. We do often have, more often than not, Decembers tend to be positive for stock markets. So we'll see how that one works out. Let me just look at some of the other questions that have come through. Nasdaq and euro sterling. Let's take a look at the Nasdaq. Let's look at the Nasdaq 100, and then we'll look at the euro against the pound. So let's bring the Nasdaq up. So again, like the S&P, we're trading near all-time highs. Volatility has dropped off an awful lot over the last few days, last couple of weeks or so. It still looks strong. Any market that's near all-time highs still looks strong, but maybe a bit vulnerable on the RSI. Look at the 10-day RSI down here, suggesting it is a bit overbought. Same, back here, it was overbought for a long time there. So I'd still be a buyer on dips. So again, I think the only question is, do you wait to buy the dip, or do you just pile in now and assume it's going to go higher? Maybe one strategy would be, like on the Bitcoin trade that I've got, the Bitcoin order I've got, wait to see if it breaks out to new highs again and jump in then. But still strong. Again, you can't deny the strength. The great pullbacks, massive volatility. 1,000-point swings plus on the Nasdaq. But clearly nowhere near the same sort of momentum we had March into September. Bit sideways since then. We need to break out and get a bit of a move on. But still positive, I think. I think stock markets are still positive. Let's take a look at euro sterling. Euro GBP. Here we go. I mean, it's been pretty sideways following the surge 4 years ago on the old Brexit referendum. If we take it right back, you can see we're in this massive range, aren't we? A bigger picture point of view for euro sterling. I suppose an aggressive trade now, if you think the euro, because we're seeing the euro US dollar strong and the pound US dollar strong. So I suppose an aggressive trade is to be a buyer somewhere now of the euro if you think the euro is going to outpace the pound. With a stop the other side of 88.60. that sort of level. So we can see what happens. So I think perhaps if we see euro sterling come under a bit of pressure for here, it could be an interesting one to be a buyer from down here. Right, let's see what else have we got. We look at Nasdaq, Russell. I don't know if we cover the Russell 2000. Let me have a quick look at that. Yes, we do. I must admit, this is a market I never look at, and I probably should look at it, a lot more, because it's like the mid caps, isn't it? Isn't it mid cap, small cap US index? Let's take a look at that. It's, I mean, that's out of the US indices we've seen today. That probably looks the most positive, I think, doesn't it? We've had again this massive move off the lows, breaks out to all-time highs in November, and still looking quite strong, I suppose, compared to the S&P and the Nasdaq 100 that are a little bit sideways, a little bit struggling at these levels, but still strong. The Russell, most recent support, clearly these lows ahead of 1800, bigger support down at 1680. Again, overstretched. Everything looks overstretched at the moment from a stock market point of view. If you look at traditional indicators like RSIs, so they could all definitely be due a correction, and that would be a buying opportunity. But you can't argue with the strength at the moment. Right, what else have we got? Aussie dollar. I do have a trade on the Australian dollar, US dollar on my own account, not the account I use for trading on the videos. So I'm long. I've been long for a while, and I think Aussie dollar, US dollar. Let's just get rid of the indicators for now. It is a great move, clearly again off the March lows. Pulls back, quite a big pullback from early September, from what was it, 7,400 down to 7,000. So a 400-point drop. Interesting that it held the lows, and we've just poked up just yesterday to fresh recovery highs for the Aussie. Bit of a weaker day today, but for me personally, I still be inclined to be a buyer of the Aussie dollar versus the US dollar. Let's try and pick up on a trend. I suppose we could pick up on the most recent trend from here on the Australian dollar, US dollar. Something like that. So lots of short-term support, about 60, 70 points below where we are now at 73.40. It's been quite a sharp reversal off those highs for the Aussie dollar. But the fact it's broken out to new highs, it's still strong. I think that's an interesting market to match. We're getting absolutely spammed here by somebody spamming about crypto. I think I can get rid of the user. There we go. Gone. So Aussie dollar, I think, still strong. Interesting one next week as well. I think the Aussie dollar. Let's see if I missed anything out. Aussie dollar, blah, blah, blah. Nikkei, that was it. Thanks for reminding me. So it's interesting, I think. Our platinum we should talk about as well. No one's mentioned that, but I've got a trade on platinum, and it has started moving. What do we call the Nikkei? Call it Nikkei? Nikkei. There we go, Nikkei 225. We'll have a look at platinum after this. Look at that, it's really weird. The move in the Nikkei since November, it's a really weird looking chart because it's been so flat. So it went from 23,000, touched 27,000 this week. And it's really interesting. It's a massive breakout through these old highs, best levels since I don't know when. We don't go back that far. But I think it's a really interesting move by the Nikkei. So I think it's one to watch. Another one I think to watch next week, the Nikkei. Again, we could do with a decent sell-off from here. A half decent sell-off, maybe back down to 25,500. But another interesting market to watch. What did I say? Platinum. Let's look at the price of platinum. So let's bring that one up. Oh, it's up. Is it up again today? Up 3% today. I don't know what's going on, but I do have a trade on it, so I'm quite happy. It's just been racing away this week, the price of platinum. So we did have, if I go back, so I've got a couple of trades running on platinum, and it's been a bit boring for a bit. Where do I need to go back to? So it fell off a cliff in March, like everything else. It tried to build a trend from here. So I had one trade on anyway from here. just about missed getting stopped out, bought again, and it's broken out again. So it's had a right run over the last 5 weeks or so, up to 1,070. So platinum trading at its best levels in more than 4 years. I'm a bit concerned that because it's gone up so quickly that we're due a correction, but I think that's another interesting market to watch. So maybe I wouldn't necessarily buy it where it is now, but I think it's an interesting market to watch going into next week and into the new year if we do get something of a sell-off from here. So platinum has been going a bit crazy. Can we check Euro US dollar? Yeah, we did look at that one, but let's bring it up again and see if anything exciting is happening with it. It is it looks like a bit weaker today. Oh, look at that, it's got really hit today. That must be on the payrolls. We'll have a look at the dollar index at the moment. Let's see what's going on. So the payrolls came out here. So the euro was strong initially, 121.50, went up about 15 points, and it's dropped about 20 points or so. But personally, I still think that's a buying opportunity. I suppose an aggressive trade. Now let's do a trade. We haven't done a trade, and I've got no idea what's going on because I can't see anything from my side. But let's do a trade now and say the market has overreacted. So what time is it? So it's been 25 minutes since the payroll. So the trade I'm going to do, I'm going to be a buyer of the euro with a stop loss the other side of yesterday's low. 2100 was yesterday's low. That's quite a good trade, I think. Well, don't follow it, obviously. But right, so 21. So I'll go 20.85 for a stop. So close at 120.85. Let's see how this one works out. And we'll risk 100 quid because it's a bit of a. So my risk is that. So let's bump that up to 24. We're going to buy 24,000 euros. Where it is now, stop loss at 120.85, which is down here. There we go. Let's do it. Buy. There we go. Done. Okay, so 24.80. Let's see. I think that's quite interesting. That because it had been strong, clearly a big move off yesterday's low, and I would say I think someone asked earlier on about looking at the time frames. Even though we look at short-term charts like 5-minute charts and 1-minute charts, I would never look at those for my own trading. Dailies and hourlies is all I'm interested in because I think you can just end up getting far too sucked into the noise. So let's see if that old level holds, 120-100 on the euro, but clearly moving around. Let's take a quick look at the dollar index then, because that must be moving. So the dollar index, if it's a market you've never looked at before, is the dollar against a basket of different currencies: the euro, the pound, the Swiss franc, the yen, all that sort of stuff. So again, the dollar had a move down on the payrolls to 90.52, and it's bounced back up. But I do think we could well see the dollar slip lower from here. So let's see what happens. What else have we got? How about Boeing? Let's have a look at Boeing. I think they had, because clearly they had, of course, the big problems with the MAX jets, weren't they? All the accidents with those. We looked at those. I think we looked at those the other week on a live stream. It's interesting because it's breaking out again, Boeing. So Boeing, that's a really interesting one, I think, because we surged up in June to wherever it was, $240 a share, and we're breaking it now. So I think there's two approaches here. If you think the move up has been overdone, you could be a seller, short sell up here with a stop not too far away if you think it's got a bit overdone. Or maybe if we see further strength from there, we're going to see a bigger recovery for Boeing, perhaps back up to the sort of 300 plus. So I think it's at a bit of an interesting juncture, that one. So that's it. Right. I think, should we wrap things up? Because it's 2 o'clock. I mean, going on for 45 minutes. So I'm going to start wrapping things up there. What I will do is, if you have any questions after this, feel free to drop me an email. My email address is david.jones@capital.com. And of course, to open an account, take advantage of that zero spread thing that we're doing today. We do these zero spread promotions now and again. Go to Capital.com or open up, download the app. You can follow me on Twitter at Jones the Markets, and follow Capital.com on YouTube. So I would say, if you're watching now and you're not subscribed to us, hang on a second. Oh, I really am flying blind a bit today. If you go to our YouTube channel, wherever that is, I can't find it now on here, Capital.com, YouTube, and subscribe to us, you'll see all the various videos that we do during the week. Okay, so that's it. We'll see how these markets turn out. There's oh my God, that's made 20 quid already, that Euro trade. What a little fluke that was. So that Euro trade we did at 121.40 is up about 10 points. I've never been so excited about making 20 quid before. So that'd be an interesting market to watch this afternoon. But as I say, no one's got a crystal ball, and I get it wrong probably more often than I'm right. But I do try and run the profits for as long as possible. But loads of really interesting markets to watch for the rest of the day and into next week. Stock market's still strong, bit overstretched. Currency market's really interesting on this ongoing US dollar weakness. And Bitcoin at $20,000. Is it due something of a massive correction from up here? And I think there will be a recording of this available as soon as I end this stream. Sorry for the technical issues today. I've got no idea what's going on, so I'll try and fix it for next time. But if you have any questions, obviously I can't give financial advice and stuff, but any questions about trading in general, drop me an email. Subscribe to our normal YouTube channel for pre-recorded videos on the different markets we cover. Thanks for coming along today. We'll probably do one more live stream before Christmas. I think in a week's time, in the evening, Friday evening, we're doing these looking back on the week and looking ahead to next week. So we'll probably do one of those next week. And if you're subscribed and you've clicked on the notifications thing, you'll get a notification whenever we do the next live stream. That's it now. I'm going to stop because it's been a bit exhausting. But good luck with your trading, and hopefully see you on the next one. Thank you very much for coming along.